Good evening, everybody. We are on with Tim Hamons. First of all, welcome to UNbound Creatives. For those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, I am LaShondra McCarty. I am a speaker and trainer. My areas of expertise are around content management as well as communication. And what I discovered when trying to teach teams how to use social media to share their message, I discovered that they were having larger communication problems and started really thinking about the dynamics of their teams as well as how they could work better together for a combined desired end. And in this space, I am trying to give artists an opportunity to share who they are behind their work. So many times we see a film or a wonderfully designed piece of clothing and we like and adore what we have in our hands, the tangible things that we see or experience in the world, whether we're listening to music or any other way that somebody is artistically expressing themselves. But we don't often get to hear the story behind the person who has done that work. And that is what the purpose of Unbound Creatives is, an opportunity to give a voice to the artist. And tonight, our artist is Tim Hamons. Tim is an expat. He currently lives in Singapore, and he is a visual facilitator. And for those of you who are wondering what that means, just look down and you can actually see Tim's second camera where he is actually drawing as I'm speaking, which is actually pretty cool. So for those of us who, you know, grew up sketching and doodling and were told we need to stop doing that while we were sitting in class, Tim actually mastered it and has turned it into a wonderful career as he trains and has positioned himself as a visual storyteller around the world. Um, he is the owner of Art of Awakening and does online trainings as well as puts up videos so you can see what his process is and allows us to tap into what it means to be an artist and not be blocked out by not being like somebody else and comparing ourselves to someone else's skill set. So Tim is going to help us reimagine the power of the pen in our hand. Thank you so much, Tim, for coming on today and sharing your expertise. But before we get to that, I want you to let us know a little bit about you. How did you even get into, how did visual facilitator even become a thing for you?
Great. Thank you, LaShondra, and welcome everybody. It's a pleasure to be here and to share the story. I love the context that you set around listening to the story behind the work, because so often it's the process and the story that helps inform that work and the choices. And artists have an opportunity, in some degree, a responsibility, to provoke and to invite new ideas or alternative approaches to complex situations or social issues and so on. And I like to think of the work that we do is about being a dedicated listener in a room, and we're helping to tell the stories of a group, a company, whether it's the senior leaders in a strategy conversation, or it's a group of researchers trying to, understand the complexities of various sets of data, and so on. But so how I came to this work, if I may share a simple story, and I'm just going to draw it out. So my background is in graphic design, and I was designing, visual communication and design. And I had a moment where, as an intern at Landor Associates in San Francisco, I was tasked as part of the team to design the logo for Toyota International Motors. And my idea went to the international finalist. It was selected as one of 3 finalists from our office. I was just an intern. I was 19, 20 years old. And so that was exciting for me. But I loved using, the marker for thinking and ideating, right? And so what we would do in that work is we would bring a client in to a presentation, and the client would see a room full of sketches, dozens of sketches, and those sketches would run a spectrum between more traditional and more contemporary, more youthful to more mature, and so on. And so it's to tell a variety of stories to the client for them to decide, that one is who we are. That best represents the emotional values, the equity, and the story of our company or product. But what I enjoyed even more than all of this work was the process. And the process was about thinking with a marker or a pencil in my hand, right, to tell a story. And as I went on, I began to do this work and sitting in corporate boardrooms with clients and hearing their stories and hearing a lot of disconnection and challenges, like who we are, what do we want, and how do we get agreement on ideas. And then I began teaching students. I came to Singapore and I taught students graphic design. And I realized that the biggest gap when we're presenting, when we're trying to work out problems, is between the head and the heart. What I think and what I feel, and then how do I communicate that? Whether that's to articulate it, or it's through the work that you're doing, and it's congruent with what I think and what I feel. So I became curious and interested in that gap, and I said, well, I know how to do something with that from from all the work that I've been doing in sketching and ideating and solving problems with clients and so on. And then that's when we set up our company, Art of Awakening, using visual business solutions and doing training, facilitation, and live listening and drawing with groups. So that's kind of how I came into doing this work and realizing the value of sketching. I mean, there's a number of examples I could share, I guess, of times when we first were doing this work. I was at a 5-day business conference, making, mind maps, live visual notes, summaries of the work. And I was sitting with a partner who I had done some creativity workshops at her youth training school. And the trainer, it was called Business Intensive, Guerrilla Business Intensive, 5 days. And the trainer was saying, go and make a product and go put it out there and put it in the world. And he's teaching about copywriting and creating a pitch for it and everything. And my friend nudged me and said, Tim, why don't you go and sell your mind maps? And so I knew the organizers because I had been part of their crew for a while, Success Resources in Singapore, a big training company. And I went and spoke to them. They said, okay, go ahead. So during one of the breaks, we went and set up a booth out there in the product area where the speakers will sell their books and different programs and so on. And we made a headline, leverage on your learning investment using engaging visual materials and visual summaries, and we put copies up and so on. And during the at a tea break or lunch break, people are hungry for learning and ideas. So people came and swarmed our booth.
That's awesome.
It was amazing. So and they're passing us money. And I went home that night, and I was staying up till like 4 a.m. making photocopies of my little notes to give to people the next day who had paid us money. And I thought, this is really cool because I'm not doing anything different than what I would normally do. It's just, how do I scale this? And that was real-time market validation of the value of this kind of work for learning and engagement and retention. So I said, okay, so let's go and explore this. So those are a couple of maybe founding stories, I guess, that validate this work.
That's amazing, though. I mean, kudos to your friend for saying, hey, you got something here. And you jumped. I mean, a lot of people have these awesome ideas and they sit on them or go, oh, no, I'm not going to do it. Or I don't have everything that I need in this moment to make it happen. But more often than not, you already have everything that you need. If you've already been doing the work and you're already an expert in the field, you may not be at the end of the line of your career, of course, there's always something to learn, but you're still further along than somebody who has absolutely no idea about what you're doing. And sometimes people don't know the value of where they are and what they have to offer right now. So, I mean, it's great that you
Nice.
said, you know what, I hear you, and I'm going to try this, because you took
Mm.
advantage of that moment and the moment of the opportunity. And it launched you
Yeah.
down this whole new path where you're sharing your gift and you're helping people to, tap into what they didn't even realize they could do. That's amazing. And it just led you in so many different ways. And I think that is really, really awesome. We can
Thank
learn a
you.
lot from that. Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. I feel really lucky and, grateful to be able to do this work that is, a passion for me is since I was young, using a drawing has always been a good companion to help me to think, help me to explore. Also, a way to work through emotions. I wouldn't have understood that or said it at the time, but whenever you feel sad or confused as a kid, I would sit down and make drawings, and it was a way to help me process stuff. And I mean, now I have a 5-year-old son, and he's drawing all the time because he sees it all over the place. He's drawing everywhere. And here's the thing: when you watch kids, so 9 out of 10 adults will say, "I can't draw," right?
Right.
They'll say, "I can't draw," and that's a story that we tell ourselves. And if you then you'll search for evidence to back up that belief, right? And then
Right.
they'll draw something and say, "Look, see, I can't. I told you." But the thing is, it's not about the work we do is not about work in a gallery. It's about stories. It's about quick iterations, as you've seen. So when you look at children, and I'm talking about I was mentioning my 5-year-old son. When you look at kids drawing, they're not drawing to create a thing. It's not a product. It's not an output. It's a process of how they see the world. It's their story. It's their exploration, and that's a beautiful distinction. There's no judgment about what it looks like. That only happens later when we get into school and there's grades attached to performance and what you create, and it's right or it's not right.
Right.
And then they get into that box of I can't draw because someone told me this, and then I made a decision about what I drew, and I don't think it's good enough, and all that other comparison stuff. So my what drives me is to help change this relationship, get a marker in people's hands, reframe their relationship to their own creativity and to this conversation. That's kind of an aha moment.
Right.
Just to people say, it's not that hard, and it can help me to iterate my ideas and share it with others. And that's powerful. Yeah.
It is powerful. I'm going to share one of your videos.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that one needs to be forwarded a little bit. That has a bit of a funny start. So there's some goals and using gamification to help create a relationship around the sustainable development goals, and to put you in a situation where you have to make decisions about that. So he's presenting that as it applies to leadership and having a better conversation around sustainability. And so I was capturing the drawing that through the drawing, and you see the metaphor there of the iceberg. So a lot of the work that we do is around finding a narrative, finding a metaphor or an image that can unify, create a central unifying narrative to an idea, and then you can build on that, and people understand the iceberg or a journey map or different kinds of narratives. So when you anchor your ideas and stories in there, it makes sense, and people understand that. Yeah, I'm just looking for.
So I'm going to give you a couple of options here. So I came with pen in hand for this moment.
Oh yeah, okay. You want to draw something?
Yeah, let's try it. And everybody at home, go ahead and pull out a pen. And those who are brave, share it later and hashtag Unbound Creatives, hashtag Tim Hamons, so that we can see your drawings when we search for the hashtag. All right, Tim, teach us how to draw.
Oh, well, okay, I'll just do a really quick demo. So, again, if you're one of those adults, there's 9 out of 10 adults that have this conversation, that's okay. Let's just park that to the side for the moment and have a pen in your hand. So are you able to draw a stick figure? I think if you say I can't draw a stick figure, no one will believe you. I don't believe you. Everybody do that. So go ahead and draw your stick figure and just have a look. You could draw it about the size that I have, and have a look at that stick figure. Do you feel connected to that stick figure? Does it have much meaning, or can you empathize with that? Let's say
not in
that's
particular.
An important quality. No, so there's different ways to draw a figure, but the one that I like is called the star person, starman, which is a 5-pointed star with a round head. So I just draw the round head and a body like that, a star person. And so the difference between these is it looks a little bit more like a person. It has mass. You can empathize with that. And that's an important part of communication. When you draw a figure, people relate to that. They can project a little bit. That's me. That's our situation. Then you can add content around it. So let's just have fun here. And we can draw our little star person like that. You notice how quickly I draw it, because it's meant to be quick. As a communicator, as a leader, as a storyteller, I encourage people to use this in your presentations like we're doing now, drawing what you hear, what someone is saying, like what I did with LaShondra in our prep call is drawing her story. So something like that. When you anchor people's words live like that, it's a great form of validation and feedback. So you want to be able to draw quickly. So I can draw this little star person, a little bubble here, and a few smaller bubbles. And that's a thought cloud, a thought bubble, right? I can draw a little oval shape here. And that's a speech bubble, right? Pretty easy. Right. And I'll draw one more thing here is this little box. Give it a bit of a dimension. Some, that's meant to look like a wall, so to speak. Okay. Do that. So you've just drawn a couple of elements, right? You've drawn the star person. Everybody okay? You okay, LaShondra?
Yeah, I am, but I didn't draw, like, my stick person is like, I don't know if you can see it. My stick person is too high, because I didn't realize that. So I putting my element of the box like way too low.
Oh, so that's okay.
He's not standing. He's like floating. He's floating like a star in the air. So
that's okay. That's okay. I'll show you what we can do. So what I'm doing now is what we call in our training, we call it visual storytelling, right? And here's kind of the process of that. It's organizing your thinking into for a specific piece of communication. So I'm just drawing some of the elements here. I'll add one more element, is this arrow. So notice all of these are open, right? There's open space inside of them. So I'm going to add some words into there. So if this is a wall or barrier, I could just add that word. And you could certainly say this past year with COVID around the world and everything, that it's been a good year for fear, right? There's been certainly a lot of fear, and that's not going away. And mental health is taking a big, coming more into the spotlight. And also drawing is a great way to process emotions as well. That's another aside thought. But so here is fear in front of us as a barrier at times, right? So, what can I do about that? Any coach will say, something to the degree of taking control of what you can control and what you cannot control. Your locus of control is around your thoughts. You can control your words, and you can control your own actions and choices, certainly. External circumstances, you don't have as much control over it, right?
Right.
And when I am able to do that, I can perhaps jump over this barrier of fear and recapture my own possibilities. So there you go. So that's just a little demonstration of a story. I'm telling a little bit of a story using some simple pictures, really simple pictures in a thoughtful and meaningful way. But what you've done here is also you're kind of implying a change process, a process of transformation, going from one thing to another thing over time. So that's the essence of visual storytelling. And just like at the beginning when I told my, shared a few pictures here to tell a story, how I came into this work and some of the value of it, I encourage people you could use something like this in your presentations whenever you're telling a personal story, a brand story, a customer story, when you're listening, in your team meetings, what's going on, how are we feeling around, the lack of connection and within the team, depending on your locations and so on. What are we feeling about customer? How do we reimagine our future? For our how do we create service and value in the world? So these different things, and you can capture that with your client, with your team, and you're creating a model for them.
Awesome.
So there's a few ideas.
It is, and I even though the dimensions
Let's
are
see. Have a look. Nice. I want to take a screenshot.
I will send you that. I'll send
Great,
you
well done.
Thank you. So I'm going to. Yes,
yeah. And I hope that helps to shift that relationship a little bit.
It actually does, and when I was going to school and when I started focusing on design work, I had a professor who I was taking the class called Drawing on the Computer. And so my expectation is that we would go in, we would draw on the computer. Okay. First class, she gives us this whole list of products that we have to get. The A and B pencils, they'd have to be really hard. I'm sorry, H pencils, B pencils, charcoal. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like these portfolio folders. And so I walked up to her afterward. It was like, okay, basically, why do I have this traditional art list for this computer class? And she said that she wanted us to learn how to draw by hand before we ever touched the computer. And so for half of the semester, I was carrying around sketchbooks. And I was like, this is so hard, but I did it. And I actually still have some of my things from college. And whatever I cannot get something out of my head onto my Wacom tablet, which lets you draw on the screen, I would do it by hand. And sometimes I've drawn things by hand or just sketched them out just so I can get a visualization of what I'm trying to do before I even go to the digital process. I have not mastered that. Nice. I don't feel like I can't draw. It's just not. This is not where I live. Like this is where I go if I have to do it very quickly, or I for whatever reason I can't figure out how to do it on the computer yet. I do it on paper and then do it on the computer. But I'm doing something that I haven't done on this show before, and I'm bringing somebody else on. The very first episode was with Sharon Haji, and she is a muralist. She does murals in Atlanta, and she is going to jump in and have a short conversation with Tim so that you can see a little bit more of what he does in action. Hey, Sharon. Hey, Sharon. All right. Well, maybe we don't have Sharon. I see her face.
She's on the way.
Well,
she asked if we can hear her. She's in the room, but she asked if you can hear her.
Oh, no, I can't hear you, Sharon.
she's going to hop out and hop back in. I'm just reading the chat to you.
Yeah, thank you.
So you're going to surprise me with something with Sharon, I think, huh?
I am, because
that's cool.
You're masterful with this, and this way they can see how great you are.
Oh, okay. I'll wait to see what
All
you're
right.
up to.
Yes, Beverly Road, gotta love live. Yes, live lets you sweat under pressure. All right, Sharon, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi,
Sandra.
Hi, Sharon.
Sorry about that. I was listening the whole time, so I just had myself muted, so I thought it would work, but it's okay.
No problem, no problem. So I am going to hand it off to you guys.
Okay.
And so, Sharon, I would like you to introduce yourself to Tim.
Okay.
So let him know a little bit about who you are and your path to get there.
Okay.
Oh.
Hey, Tim. My name
Hi,
is
Sharon.
Hi. My name is Sharon, and I'm an artist. I discovered when I was very young that I have a passion for art, and I love to draw and paint. And so when I was growing up, I heard all the time I could have art as a hobby, but not so much as a career. So I was highly encouraged to start my career in healthcare, which is my background. And so my education is actually I have my master's in healthcare administration and my undergrad in exercise science. And then I quit my job during the COVID because I wanted to pursue my business of becoming an artist. And so I decided that I wanted to incorporate my faith and also my artwork into one, because my faith had gotten me through a lot of tough times growing up. So I decided that I was going to start painting canvases, which I hadn't done before, but I was going to start hiding prayers in invisible ink in all my canvases, because I wanted to start encouraging people and bring them more than just the visual, but also bring them another level of value as well. So I hide prayers in invisible ink in my work. And I also decided that I was going to start mural customization for local businesses, because I want to, like you, take really hear what somebody else is saying and bring it to life in visual form, but I do it on a wall. So that is my goal behind my work, is to be able to really listen to fellow business owners and really take their ideas and their what they want out of their business and how they want their customers to leave feeling, and bring it to life as well.
Nice.
So I am in Atlanta. I have a almost 3-year-old daughter, and she inspires me every day. She's a huge inspiration for my work. And I am a stay-at-home mom right now and trying to get my business and stuff going at home. But I will soon be out and about as soon as the COVID is over or slowing down a little bit. Once the world starts to open up a little bit, I'll start painting for local businesses here.
Nice.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
I love
it. Thank you. All right. So I'll just add a little bit of things here.
Whoa.
So nice. So I would ask any of the listeners, when you were listening to Sharon tell her story, I mean, you know, a big part of this work, as I mentioned before, is about listening. And, you know, there's different levels of listening. We could talk about when you're sharing a story, you're focused on what I'm thinking, feeling, or saying. If I'm, listening as a coach or a facilitator or as a professional, you might be more focused on what the other is thinking, feeling, or saying. Or you can say, what's going on around us, and that's a different level of listening. That's just a little bit of a model I share. But when, for those of the listeners on the call, when you're listening to Sharon's story, I would ask what stands out from what she shared. What's one or two, things that kind of sparkle? And that's where I would say, then draw that, capture that, or just write it. I liked what she said, where my faith and art overlap, and I want to provide a hidden prayer in the painting. I mean, that's I think it's kind of a signature of hers, and something that differentiates, hers, and it's a great story as well. So I'm sure that's part of her branding and so on. So, that's an invitation when you're listening, is to capture that, make a note of that, and then you can add a picture to that later. And that's kind of how I was doing that. So I'm just capturing those key points, where she started as a girl. I can make art as a hobby, not a career. Then I go to healthcare and a few other things, and I left that to become an artist. And then, here's part of her signature approach here is this hidden prayer. So this is kind of redefining, that story as an artist, and the approach and philosophy a little bit. And then bringing it back to now what I do professionally, bring others' ideas to life. So there you go. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Tim.
For sharing that.
That's awesome. Thank you, LaShondra.
Thank you for sharing your story. That was fun. Thanks, LaShondra.
You're welcome. You're both very welcome. And thank you for your willingness to share your gift impromptu.
Nice. Thank you.
So, Tim, we are coming close to the end of our time. How can somebody either work with you or learn from you? What would your instructions be? Do you have any? I know you've been doing virtual workshops. Do you have anything coming up that people can jump onto?
Yes, we have a 90-minute masterclass that we call Intro to Visual Facilitation. And we, all the things that I demonstrated here, the skill of listening and drawing, the skill of visual storytelling, and the skill of working with visual templates, which is like this, right? Creating structured conversations for harvesting individual ideas or group ideas used for goal setting, planning, and so on, for coaching and facilitators. I'll do an introduction for that. And that's actually on this Wednesday, 6 p.m. Singapore time, which is not a very friendly time for much of America. 3 a.m.
5 a.m. here, 5 a.m. is Central Time. That in itself was a journey of us, figuring out the time.
Aligning the time together.
But Tim also posts on Art of Awakening on Facebook. So please follow him. If you are on LinkedIn, he's on LinkedIn. He shares some of his work there. So there are multiple ways that you can actually connect with him. And as you can see, his work is pretty awesome. So
thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll share a couple of gifts with you, LaShondra. And this is my earlier year, but so this is a visual template for visioning, for personal visioning and goal setting. And the idea is that you use this, kind of based on the metaphor of a hot air balloon. And if you've ever gone to a hot air balloon launch or event, you would say it's breathtaking, right? It takes your breath away, uplifting and inspiring. And we did that with my wife and I in 2018 when we were in Europe for a conference. We went to the countryside of England, and there was a 3-day balloon festival. It rained every day, so they didn't launch any balloons. But on the third day, 6 a.m. in the morning, they lifted off, and it was so inspiring. It's so beautiful. So imagine if your goals are attached to those hot air balloons, what you want, goals and strategies. So that's the idea. So this creates a narrative and an uplifting story for your goals and your purpose. What are my gifts and strengths? What I'm grateful for? Support required? What vision do I want to see in the world? And so on. And so you map this out, put it next to your workstation where you see it, and it helps you to reinforce that through the power of visuals, right? One of the key powers of visuals is that it creates an emotional connection to your idea, and that's why people love it so much, and that's where it becomes powerful for retention and engagement. So I'll share that with you as well. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. This has been great, Tim. I hope that more people follow you from here and have gained a sense of how important visuals are. And even when they're doing their own presentations, how they can even have their audience get involved by drawing out some of their own stories or drawing out what they hear, with so many of us sitting in so many more meetings right now, just to be able to do something where our minds and our hands are actually occupied would probably help in some of the retention of the information that we're learning. Thank you so much for sharing your gift and sitting in the box across from me this week. You are a wonderful Unbound Creative guest. Thank you so much for your time. And for you guys, in the next couple of weeks, we will have Kat Oshman, and she actually designs swimsuits. So if any of you are interested in fashion or wonder about that industry or how somebody even gets into it, she'll have a very interesting story to tell. We also have Sabrina Stallworth coming up in May, and she works with leather. So personalized handmade bags. She also does her own jewelry line. She has some really fantastic work. There are some amazing people out there like Tim, and you guys are doing some awesome things. And I am glad that you are willing to sit here and share your gift with other people, because you never know how you may be inspiring them to try something that they never even thought of. So thank you guys. I will see you next week. Have a great one.